Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
Ladies, listen!
A billion years in the making.
Off to Neverland!
What do you know?
You'll laugh, you'll cry, you'll kiss $3 goodbye.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to
Skywalking through Neverland. On episode 5 of Skywalking through Neverland. Hey, this is our Empire Strikes Back episode.
Ooh.
Today is our anniversary, October 25th, and yesterday we celebrated early by going to Disneyland. We met someone there who I did not expect to meet.
No?
No, we were in Star Trader. I was buying this week's allotment of Star Tours goodies, and the woman behind the cash register said, "Who's your favorite Star Wars character?"
Oh?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Jar Jar Binks. Why is that funny?
That's not many people's favorite Star Wars character.
And the guy behind her said, "She's an Ewok." She what? She's an Ewok. And I look down at Ewok height, and I'm thinking, is she an Ewok? I said, are you really an Ewok? And she kind of gave me one of these half-hearted answers. So, are you guys pulling my leg?
Yeah.
Is she really an Ewok? So I wasn't really sure. So when I was done, I quickly got on my iPhone and looked her up, and it was. The cashier, played an Ewok in Return of the Jedi. Her name is Margot Apostolos. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. And sure enough, she played Tokat the Ewok.
Oh my goodness.
This was the Ewok that pulled Han Solo's blaster after they fell out of the Ewok net. She had black fur. She got her own shot at the end of the Endor battle, and she's one of them with the Stormtrooper blaster in her hand. Oh, and then Sarah and I had gone to this
the DVC, Disney Vacation Club, just to check it out.
Where you listen to an hour-long pitch, and at the end they give you fast passes. So we had about 6 fast passes, and we
had to leave.
We had podcasting to do, so we thought, let's just hand these out. So Sarah, in her Darth Vader dress, just started handing out free passes to anyone who commented on her dress.
Yep.
And they also got one of our cards. So if you're out there listening, if you're one of the people that got our fast pass, write in and let us know.
And thank you very much for the compliment.
All right, so we have a very special Tiki Cantina. We're going to be talking all about cosplay does not equal consent.
This is a very big movement going on right now.
We're going to really dive into this.
We got some very big people in the movement, including Christina Tellefson, who is part of 16 Bit Sirens. They actually started the whole movement of cosplay does not equal consent back in April.
Now, this is a subject that's been an issue for decades.
Mm-hmm.
Ever since we were all kids, me in the 70s, if you're a fan of Star Wars, Star Trek, science fiction, you're going to be called a geek on the playground. There's been this bullying to us fans for the last couple of decades, and it's reached an all-time high now. There was an incident at New York Comic-Con just a couple of weeks ago where a group of reporters falsified credentials.
Posing as reporters. A group of guys posing as reporters from SiriusXM.
And we're doing interviews with women
cosplayers, women
cosplayers, and just asking them the most lewd things, thinking it's really funny. TheMarySue.com says, embarrassing women on film so that they could share that footage with their audience speaks to a firm assumption that women are less than. Mm-hmm. I don't think they were targeting women just because you're less than. I think they go to a convention and they see all these easy targets and they're going to go for it. They just took it one step further and targeted these women because they're wearing skimpy costumes. This is a reason to approach them, to talk to them, say these lewd things without being slapped.
Without repercussions.
Yes. But unbeknownst to them, women cosplayers are pretty tough.
Mm-hmm. The horrible thing was, though, even though on Friday these guys were harassing women, these guys were not kicked out of the convention until Sunday.
Well, they were harassing them on Saturday, and by the time it got to the right people,
right,
they kicked them out on Sunday.
Mm-hmm.
They were asking women cup sizes.
Oh.
How is that funny?
Yeah.
There's a show called Man Banter, so I'm sure they're trying to do a version of the Man Show. Whenever I'm at a convention and I see a news crew, I never stop. I've been asked so many times for an interview because I know most of them are just there because they see all these rolling targets and they want to make fun of them.
Mm-hmm.
So a few years ago, my friend Dave Scale and I auditioned for the superhero Stan Lee show, Who Wants to Be a Superhero? And there were media outlets everywhere, and they want to take some easy pot shots, just like Triumph the Insult Dog did on Conan O'Brien back in 2007. I avoided them as much as I could. But then Ross, the intern from The Tonight Show, came over and started talking to us. Hey, do you guys want to be interviewed for The Tonight Show? And already my alarms went off. Like, okay, don't do it. And of course, he went into all the geek, nerd, living in your mom's basement, blah, blah, blah. I just shut off.
So you didn't answer any of his questions?
I gave him nothing because I knew what he was going to do with all this. I didn't want to give any of these outlets the satisfaction of knowing they can come over to us fans and just belittle us without us doing something about it. That was my stance for fans everywhere. Leave us alone. And little by little, fans are fighting back. Now, because of this whole controversy at New York Comic Con, getting credentials at conventions are going to be that much tougher.
Yes. And also, they're going to have their harassment policy displayed very prominently on their website in different places. So it's not just about cosplay does not equal consent where guys randomly grope women when they're taking a picture, but...
Well, that's the subject we'll be talking about today, but
yes.
I think that's just a piece of the larger puzzle about how geeks are always considered to be geeks. People just keep on enhancing that stereotype that they live in their mom's basement. They have no girlfriends. It's just nails on a chalkboard. Please, listeners, help us squash this picture of what the media has and are constantly putting out there of how we live and what we do. We don't just play Warcraft all day long. We're out there. We have jobs. We have careers.
And we do take showers.
All right, now I'm just getting angry. Let's roll Tiki Cantina.
Okay.
Ole! It's showtime!
Tiki room. Tiki room. Tiki room.
You have arrived now at the Tiki Cantina. Everyone, this is where we have our drinks and we talk girl talk. Hi, girls.
Hi.
And with me today, I have Christina Tellefson, and she is also known as Booba Fett in the cosplay world. And she founded 16-Bit Sirens.
That's right. We're a geek website. We started with gaming and we do editorial articles. And we started the Cosplay is Not Consent movement.
Now, is cosplay a big part of 16-Bit Sirens?
It wasn't originally, and it kind of grew into that, yeah.
And then also, I have with me Amelia Lindgren. She is a cosplayer and a professional celebrity lookalike.
Yes.
What kind of celebrities do you professionally emulate?
I do Lady Gaga, Lucille Ball, Madonna, and Olivia Newton-John.
What's your favorite?
Oh, gosh, it changes on a weekly basis. I like them all for different reasons, especially when it gets mixed up because then I don't have to be the same thing over and over.
Right.
But I like them all.
Good.
They all have
Now,
their...
do you sing? You sing as
Yes,
them
I'm a
too?
tribute artist as well, so I do concerts as
Wow.
Lady Gaga and Grease. And
That must be so fun.
yes, it's fun.
Well, ladies, we are here talking about the issue of cosplay does not equal consent.
Yes.
And I understand, Christina, that your group actually started this.
Yeah, it was our girl Ellie, also known as Killer Sushi on our site, wrote the article. And it was based off Megan Marie's post originally about being harassed. I think it was at PAX or E3. And
That was this year, 2013?
yes. I'm trying to remember when the article was written. I think it was back in April.
Yeah.
And we did not expect the attention we got from it at all, but it seems to have snowballed into this really awesome thing. And even conventions are putting up signs now saying, harassment won't be tolerated. And it's kind of interesting to see that.
So how have people been responding to your article? Like negatively, positively?
Both. And like I said, we didn't expect the responses. We had no idea it was going to be this popular of an article. And it really freaked us out when our phones were blowing up when she posted it. We had something like 3,000 comments in a span of a couple of hours, and we were trying to filter through all of them and read them all. Most of them were like, "Oh my God, thank you for posting this," and saying that this needs to stop and harassment needs to be taken care of, and some were saying, oh, you're just a bunch of attention whores, it's all you want, and just basically saying that, well, basically slut shaming essentially, and just being very negative about it, or saying that we're trying to say sexy is bad, which is totally not what we're saying. I love a good sexy costume like anybody else. I just don't think that that person should be harassed. So yeah, it's interesting seeing the negative comments. To me, they don't compute. To them, they do, obviously, but for me, that doesn't make sense. But it's been overwhelmingly positive, which is a good thing.
Have you actually experienced any of this harassment for yourself?
In my Harley Quinn costume, yeah, I've been groped before. Someone grabbed my butt, and I don't know what he said to me. It was something very rude, and I handled it by slapping him and telling somebody, and they removed him from the convention. That's really the only instance that I've had where someone's touched me. But I know there's other girls that go through it every time they go to a convention. Ellie, for instance, this happens to her all the time. She's like a magnet for it, hence the reason she wanted to write the article. So I know that it happens, and it's kind of a problem.
Wow. What about you, Amelia? Have you ever experienced anything like that?
It's interesting you ask, because, for me it would be the Lady Gaga. I have one of my latex costumes that has an open butt. It's like a G-string technically, with like this crazy latex shoulders and long sleeve, whatever. Really big heels. For the most part, people don't bug me because Lady Gaga has a killer attitude, and I'm kind of put out this energy field that don't mess with me. But I did a gig once, a red carpet for a bat mitzvah, and the young boys like actually harassed me, and I was pretty shocked at their behavior and that they were getting away with it, that nobody said anything.
I can't believe that.
Yeah, they were touching me and kind of, it was weird.
And none of the adults said anything?
Nope.
My goodness.
I was treated like a piece of meat for sure.
Wow.
That's the only time it's happened, because they were kids and they just didn't know any better, but they just saw this kind of sexy creature in this crazy costume and they just wanted to be all over that. And
wow.
So yeah, I've experienced it.
I think to some degree, when you dress in a certain sexy way, you almost kind of expect a certain response. Do you guys?
Yes, I have a comment on that. I think on the one hand, you want to say if you dress like a slut, you're going to be treated like a slut. On the other hand, if you go to a beach in Brazil and you're wearing a G-string and your booty is hanging out, because that's what it's supposed to be in Brazil, nobody's going to harass you because that's the culture, and women are celebrated, the bootylicious is celebrated. And if you go to any beach in Hawaii or whatever, there's Florida, whatever, people are in bikinis, that doesn't mean someone's going to throw themselves on the ground and start taking snapshots of your crotch or grabbing your butt. Because on a beach, it's okay, because it's the culture to be in a bikini and it's just normal. And I think with cosplay, it's still fairly a new phenomenon, and people haven't kind of adjusted to what it means and what the rules are. And I think that's what's happening right now with this movement, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it's on the same lines. If you go to a strip club, and even if they're fully nude, you can't just go up and touch them. It's the whole idea that there's boundaries, and most people are aware of that when they go somewhere. And I haven't quite understood how a convention makes that different, or how wearing a costume makes that different. But it seems to be people don't seem to quite understand that just because I'm wearing this extremely sexy costume doesn't mean you can come up to and touch me or say extremely lewd comments to me.
I wonder if it's because you're embodying a character, and so they don't see you as yourself, they see you as that character for some reason.
Which makes sense. It's sort of like, celebrities or people they see that on the street like that, they assume that they're not real people. It's just that disconnect they have, and that maybe that's where it is, but people need to learn you can't just go up and touch somebody or say something really lewd. It's not appropriate.
Right.
I mean, we're not children here. Come on. It's at some point, we know there's a person inside the costume.
Yeah.
So
right.
You should treat them as such. I mean, it's an art form. Cosplay is an art form. It's people in costumes art.
I agree with that.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you can belittle, put down, grope, et cetera, et cetera. But I think it's a good idea. Like you said, I think that the conventions should put up signs, and I think that within the culture, these boundaries should pop up. And again, since it's so new, that's what's happening now. And I'm sure in a few years there will be rules in place. But it's good that this movement is happening, because that's what's going to get it there. I think.
Yeah. Why do you think these guys, or are they all guys pretty much?
No, I've seen
it's
women
girls?
do it too.
Okay.
And harassment, like I said, doesn't have to come in just saying like, "Ooh, hey, baby," or being touched. I mean, it can be someone saying something really rude and condescending, or basically slut shaming you for wearing a costume that might show a little skin, which really isn't. It comes in all shapes and sizes, and I think it's getting worse actually because of the internet. People feel like they can say whatever they want with no consequences, and hopefully with movements like this, it'll start stopping this sort of thing. It's not nice, people. Don't be jerks.
Yeah, I find it interesting that why now all of a sudden has this become a big issue. I'm assuming it's probably been happening, but only now are people speaking out.
Maybe, again, back to the internet, maybe because it's easier to say, rant on your Facebook page, like, hey, this happened to me, like Megan Marie did, and then have a bunch of other people say, yeah, enough is enough, and then the word starts spreading. People are starting getting fed up.
Yeah. I think especially this summer with all the cons going on, I monitor a lot of Facebook pages that have that are about cosplay, and a lot of times the administrator of the page will, just post another article. Like once every couple weeks, I'll see another article of cosplayers speaking out against being harassed.
I mean, I think this phenomenon, it started out as geeky girls, guys, whatever, dressing up in some costume they put together themselves. And it's really, this is an art form. These people spent months putting together these costumes and having the right look, wigs, whatever. Or maybe they picked that particular costume or that character because they look like that, and they really put a lot of work in to be as accurate and looking as similar to that characters as possible. So it's an art form, and it should be respected as such. Should be treated as such.
Yeah, I think people still view it as us playing dress up.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, that's a good point.
Silly kids playing dress up, and it's not to be respected. It's just a bunch of hoes.
And I have gotten
wearing
that comment
shreds,
before, being like,
whatever.
Maybe you should grow up, and I wanted maybe you should grow up for judging me. It took me a long time to do this costume. For whatever reason, I love this character. Why do you have to go off and judge me on something like that?
How is it different than painting?
Or dressing up at football games with all the ridiculous, the cheese heads and the face paint. It's not.
Yeah. Art is art.
We
No,
all-
you can't judge
yeah.
art. Let people do what they want.
Right. What is it about conventions that brings out this kind of behavior? Is there certain people that attend?
What's funny is that I actually always feel really safe at conventions.
Oh.
Because you're around people that are like you, and it's always finding like that group of fandoms, people that enjoy the same fandoms as you. I'm sure there's a bunch of bad apples there, obviously. Otherwise, this wouldn't be an issue. But I really haven't quite figured that one out. Maybe it's people that aren't.
Well, I think crowds will do it too, because
Yeah.
when you're like, when I do my celebrity impersonation stuff, we always have a red carpet. We always have like the velvet rope. There's photographers. There's a backdrop. So we have a place to be, and then we invite people to come on the red carpet with us and take a photo, and that places boundaries in and of itself. When you're at a convention, people are moving around. It's like a crowd. It's almost like a concert or something, and people can come up from behind you. There's people all around you, and it would be so easy to take advantage of someone. I mean, it is easy to take advantage of someone in a crowd like that.
Especially somewhere as big as Comic-Con.
Yeah. You make
So
a
many
very
people.
good point. You make a very good point, Amelia, about the boundaries.
Yeah.
Because as a slave Leia, if you get one more slave Leia by you, there's like 5 photographers. If there's 3 slave Leias, there's like 10 photographers. It's like exponentially more people group around the slave Leia. So when we have in Star Wars conventions, when we have this big slave Leia group photo, there's probably 60 slave Leias, and we actually have to have a boundary of men that are keeping out the other photographers from mobbing
So a human
the slave
wall.
Leias. Yes, it's a
Perfect,
human
yeah.
wall. And but like you can't move in the convention when there's the group slave Leia photo.
I mean, this is why
crazy.
celebrities have bodyguards,
Yeah.
because you get mobbed. I was Lady Gaga once at CES in Vegas, which is a convention, and they were very playfully calling me Lady Gaga. Obviously, I'm an impersonator, right? But she was actually there 3 days before, and for some reason, because I wore a lot of stuff on me, glasses and this and that, the crowd thought I was her, and we got mobbed. We had 400 people literally mobbing
That's
the
really
booth.
scary.
Were you
It was
was it
very
scary?
scary. It was scary because there was so many people, and they
Yeah,
just
keep my
crowded,
pants.
and my space got smaller and smaller and smaller, and the salespeople had to literally come and grab me and drag me out of there.
Wow.
And then they had to create a line and a place where I could be, and they had to line up, take pictures. But that makes you realize why celebrities have bodyguards, is to create that boundary. In a convention where maybe you're super hot in your super hot costume, people just flock to you because they're excited. And I even read in your friend's article something about someone who was in a costume where they couldn't see, and some girls grabbed this person and just dragged them through the crowd, and they had they couldn't see anything. It's like, you can't just grab someone and start, but there's just no boundaries in place. And I think that that's what needs to happen for this cosplay art. It needs to become a thing with rules, structure, boundaries, etiquette, and so on and so forth. That's what needs to happen.
And I would also like to point out that maybe the reason I haven't been as harassed as much as some other men and women that cosplay have been, I always go with a handler, so my boyfriend or a really close friend or in a group, and maybe that's part of it. I'm also pretty scary when you make me angry, but I always go in a group, and maybe that's, especially people that are new to cosplay, perhaps you should do that. Make sure you have at least one other person with you at all times that can help you out if something goes wrong, because you never know, it really could. People do get really creepy. Sometimes people will grab you, like that poor guy in the costume that he couldn't see anything, and if there's no one there to help him, you never know what's going to happen. So
I absolutely agree with that. Like, I don't think I'd be wearing a Slave Leia costume if I didn't know my husband was near.
Yeah. You never know. And it's, play it safe.
I mean, those things are easy. You could just tug the wrong thing and
wardrobe malfunction.
Yeah, wardrobe malfunction, exactly.
Yeah. I mean, I just keep thinking of, my thoughts keep coming back to, it's important that we stand up and we talk about this, because that's the only way that we're going to get some sort of foundation for rules and boundaries and stuff like that going.
If anything ever happens, make sure you say something about it to if you're too afraid to say it to the person that did it, make sure you tell somebody that's around, a security guard, friends that are nearby, have this person like talk to, or at least make an effort to have this person like, hey, this person was doing something bad, he touched me, so other people can be warned, which is, I see that happening more and more on Facebook and stuff too.
I think that's what they should do at convention. They should have a certain number of allotted staff on the floor for that purpose only, just to kind of be the security guards of the general public of the cosplayers, like someone to go to. It's like if we bring up strip clubs again, at strip clubs they have bouncers, so the girls can always have someone to go to if something goes down, to talk to. This should be sort of a similar setup, so that if a guy were to do something that he kind of knew,
or even a girl,
or a girl, if a girl or a guy wanted to do something they kind of knew wasn't okay, they'd think twice, because they see that security guard standing there. They'd be like, oh, I probably should ask if I could take this picture.
That's a very good point.
Put their camera up someone's crotch or whatever.
Which happened to Adrian Curry, actually.
Oh.
Yeah, I think at Comic-Con, some guy went underneath her and took a picture of her crotch. I think the guy got beat up.
Oh, wow.
It got resolved because Adrian Curry, she's got tons of friends. But
yes.
Yeah, I mean, it happens to everybody.
It's not cool.
My goodness.
No. It's not cool. And there needs to be, there should be some kind of thing where if the security people find this out, they should be able to throw them out and take their badge for the rest of there should be punishment, because then people won't do it. People will learn pretty quickly that it's not tolerated.
I feel like the security guards should be taught to take things seriously. There was a girl that responded to our Cosplay is Not Consent article, saying that she was in a costume, an anime costume, and she was only 14, and a guy pretty much groped her and tried to drag her away, basically. Whether he was kidding or not is not the point. The point was she was terrified, and she went to the security guard crying, and the security guard was a female security guard, and she rolled her eyes and sort of looked at her like, oh yeah, right, whatever. Because you're in a costume, like, really, you should expect that. And
that's horrible.
Yeah.
That's not
The security guard eventually apologized and felt really bad after a while, realizing how bad it really had gotten. And they found the person, removed them. But, I mean, how bad is that to be genuinely terrified, go to somebody, and then have them tell you, like, well, you deserve it because you were dressed like that.
Oh, it's horrible.
Yeah.
That's not okay at all. I'm putting my foot down right now. No, there needs to be implemented. The conventions need to realize that this cosplay thing is becoming a huge phenomenon, and that's a lot of the reasons why people go to Comic-Con and all these other things, is to dress up and to show up in costume, and
see the costumes.
It's to see the costumes, and it's a huge pull, and they need to allocate a certain number of staff for the protection of the cosplayers, and that's that. It has to happen.
I think you guys bring up a very good point. Well, now that we have the girls' point of view, I think it's time to invite some guys to get their point of view. So, girls, do you think it's okay to invite the guys to our Tiki Cantina?
Sure.
Absolutely. Welcome.
Thank you for having us.
Thanks a lot.
And with us today, we have Alexander Albatross. He is a cosplayer.
Hello.
And we also have Jamin Fight, and he is the slave master. He creates Leia's metal bikini for hundreds of women now.
That's right.
Now, Alexander, as a cosplayer, a male cosplayer, has this issue ever happened to you?
It's been very rare that anyone has really intruded my space or my personal space without asking. Everyone's been very courteous from what I've noticed. One of the main things that I have seen is female cosplayer friends of mine have that happen to them. So I've witnessed it firsthand many times, and it's very upsetting.
Have you tried to protect them? Or can you?
Unfortunately, it's like it happens so quick that the person's already gone and it's crowded, and there's hardly any time to confront people. So I think that awareness really needs to be raised, so people are on their guard and ready to confront people before they can slip away. Because I think that's what they think they can do, is just slip away because it's a crowded public environment.
Why do you think guys invade girls' space?
That's kind of been a mystery to me. I think what it is kind of male privilege is what it comes down to, because it's kind of been the way the world has been for a long time. So they assume that it's okay, and it's kind of shocked me how many guys are just ignorant about it, and they're almost like hurt when I talk about this and how it's a problem, because they just really don't think that they're a part of the problem. Like, to give an example, I always have found it odd how a lot of guys will assume, like, well, why are girls getting upset about this? Like, they dress this way. Like, it's almost like a really mild form of, well, they were asking for it. But, and I'm like, why does it never come down to if a guy was to dress in a sexy costume, for example, they would never question if they're a real fan or anything.
Wow. What about you, Jamin? As the slave master, you actually host a lot of events with a lot of slave Leias.
Yeah, we do. We really got to tighten up on security, and I'm happy to throw myself in harm's way for a slave Leia. It's what's really cool is I have a friend from Japan. She says you have to wait in a line.
Yeah.
And then you go up one at a time, and it's so respectful, and each one asks, may I take a photo of you? It's
wow, this is at Japanese conventions?
Yeah, exactly. They really, and they, this really done really professional. I'm like, really? They actually do that? Oh yeah.
Now, Jamin, when you're always around the slave Leias, how often do you see a guy coming up to a Leia and just putting their arm around them or touching them a little bit lower than they should be?
No, you would
well,
think
they're
I'd have all
probably
these.
prepared. They probably know wearing that costume that those things might happen, and they're probably more prepared for it.
Yeah, they know. I've never. The only thing is with Adrian, where we were at a bar.
Adrian Curry?
Yeah, we were at a hotel in the hotel bar, and she went out for a smoke. And this guy who had no connection with the convention was leaving the bar and grabbed her caboose.
What did she do?
Oh, she it was like a switch went on, and she went from chill to what did you do? And all her friends were there, and this guy was wasted. I doubt he even remembers even doing it. He was so
Still
drunk.
not an excuse. And I'm glad she handled herself that way. I actually am kind of in love with her a little bit, so
Yeah.
for that reason.
Yeah. So that sucked. It was off the convention. It was 2 a.m, and a guy leaving a bar.
Did the slave Leias put their arms around the guys, or do the guys put their arms around them?
It depends. Some are kind of sheepish, and then others are come here, and they get into it, man. They're hold my chain. I love it. And the guy feels powerful when he holds the chain.
It takes a lot of confidence to wear the outfit, I think. And so if you don't have that confidence, you shouldn't be wearing that outfit.
That's the point I was trying to make too. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
if you're not sure of yourself, I'm not saying don't do it. Just be prepared and possibly reconsider.
Yeah.
Something you're more comfortable in.
Now, Jamin, have you had anybody who wants a slave Leia costume who want it more covered?
No, I did have a girl who wanted to have an extra arms to come around the rib cage. I'm like, you're showing too much rib cage? They're scared. They're worried about it, and it's natural.
Do any of you watch Heroes of Cosplay? Have any of you heard of what Yaya Han has said on the show?
I heard it, but I don't want to misquote her because I can't
Yeah.
remember exactly.
She said on the show, I know my husband kind of got a laugh out of this, but it's all about the craftsmanship. It's all about how you do the cosplay. It's an art form, like you were saying, Amelia. But in the next shot, you know, they cut to her in like her costumes with her boobs practically hanging out, you know, and it just made us as viewers kind of go, whoa, well, it may be all about craftsmanship, but how she got famous might not be all about her craftsmanship.
Craftsmanship of her surgeon.
Does anybody have a reaction to
Yeah,
that?
it's kind of a tricky thing because it's like, yeah, obviously she does choose those specific kinds of costumes, and that did help with the fame a lot. But yet it doesn't really, in my opinion, decrease her value as a craftsmanship either.
Right.
She's an amazing seamstress.
Yeah, she is incredible. So I think that, I don't know, it's such a hard gray area that it lies in.
Yeah, I think that is kind of where that cosplay does not equal consent issue comes in. Like, women dress, or they go to conventions, and if you dress sexy as a woman, well, you could be labeled as a slut or worse. However, you dress sexy sometimes to attract attention, but sometimes it becomes the wrong kind of attention. So it's like a fine line you walk.
That's the whole thing too, is like there's nothing wrong with being sexy. It's just how you want to cosplay. I choose not to dress sexy because it freaks me out and I don't like being out there like that. But some people do.
I mean, the other thing is video game characters, like the female video game characters, are always skimpily clad.
Yeah.
I haven't seen a single female comic book or
'Cause it's designed
video
by
game
men.
character
Yeah, exactly. I was
that
gonna
doesn't
say.
put women in the skimpiest outfits. So it's not the cosplayer's fault.
The Last of Us and Uncharted actually.
The
Did
Tomb
not.
Raider, reboot
impressed.
also was quite a big improvement in that category. How they changed Lara Croft. It was kind of a similar outfit, but she was a lot more human looking and
Yeah.
less plastic doll looking.
Right,
I thought
right.
so.
You know, I found it interesting when the Avengers movie came out. There was a picture circulating on Facebook of that Avengers poster with all 5 of them in the fight, and it was made to look like basically comic book.
I know what you're talking
like,
about.
Like comic books made the guys pose like how women are
Yeah.
posed in comic books.
Yeah.
So all the guys were posed with their butts shown to the camera, and then some, you know, their bodies were twisted, so then you see their massive chest, you know, and it was like exactly how women are posed in comic books.
There was a great thing for that called the Hawkeye Initiative, I think it was
Yes.
called. Yeah, where it was them. I almost forgot what it was for a second, but it was posing him in like the typical female poses, and it was like a big long Tumblr feed of that, and it was pretty great.
There's somebody that cosplayed him.
Oh, really?
And I think it was at Dragon Con. The pictures are awesome if you can find it.
I will look that up.
So now, as to the issue of sexism in cosplay, do any of you feel that people think women are less fans when they dress sexy?
Like, I have some girls that, women, sorry, that dress as Slave Leia, but they've never seen Return of the Jedi. And I have a friend of mine that just goes ballistic. You can't believe he's like, fit to be tied. And I'm like, if this is like the gateway drug to them wanting to like see the movies,
Exactly.
I think that's great. I
That's a
mean,
good point.
We're not all born a Star Wars fan or whatever fan. Something.
I mean,
has
I
to-
was, but
Yeah, well, maybe, but something has to like pull you in somehow.
It comes down to how close you get to the actual character. If you're gonna be Slave Leia, you should go all the way and be as close. Otherwise, what's the point?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, and I think it's awful how it's like a lot of these characters are created by men, and then when women dress as them accurately, then they're shamed for doing
Yeah.
so, and I just don't think that makes any sense.
Good point. Good point.
And yet it's rampant in the cosplay world.
Well,
or at
if-
least in the convention world, actually.
But in my Alice costume, which the only skin that's showing is my neck and face, somebody totally did the hug thing where they kind of like the side hug where they kind of tapped my boob on the side a little bit. And I'm I am fully clothed. There is like no reason you
That's
should
disgusting.
find
I'll
this
smack him
costume
in the
sexy. Oh,
nose.
he got some. Yeah,
Oh my
that's-
God.
and not in the good way.
Now, do you think women go to these conventions just to be stared at? Because I've seen some women at Comic-Con
Maybe.
who are wearing a see-through shirt. Now, that pretty much says, look at me, look at this, look at the girls.
Well, there's been this thing recently where there's a lot of porn stars going in costume.
You can spot them a mile away.
I
though.
don't really know
Stick
how
to
to
the
feel
porn
about it yet.
conventions?
Because, yeah, I mean, I don't want to be that person that's like, you're in my fandoms. And maybe they really do like it. I don't know. I'm not really here to judge them. But yes, I have noticed.
I think that's what it comes down to is like judging, because it's like, who am I to assume that they're not a fan? And like, why should it even be an issue? It's like, whatever reason they are here, I don't really care. You know, I don't think it's not threatening my fandom or me in any way. So
Well,
I'm just there to have fun too.
To being questioned about my fandoms, when I cosplayed Jane Cobb, a lot of people got really excited that we were We had a whole gender bent group of cosplayers doing the entire crew of Serenity. And some people got really excited and really liked it. And we got a couple of really dirty looks and a couple of people say some really rude things to us about basically just wanting attention. I'm like, the costumes aren't even sexy. Like, we're screen accurate. I even had Jane's tattoo. I had Vera and Boo, his 2 guns. Like, I can school you on Firefly. Why are you just assuming because I'm a girl and dressed up as this character that I don't know anything about it and I'm just trying to get attention? That's not...
Yeah, once again, they would never assume that of a guy. They wouldn't be like, well, you're just doing this because the costume looks cool and you're not a real fan. You just want attention. So.
It's just flat out sexism.
Now, what about the booth babes at conventions? Because they're hired to be there to bring people into their booths, and they're wearing costumes made from the manufacturers, from the from the company who are attending the conventions. They don't know anything about the property, but yet they're wanting people to come in and pose with them, touch them.
Yeah.
I've seen a girl put a guy's hand on her butt.
Yeah, I've seen that too.
Now, they're bringing a really bad name into female cosplaying because they're encouraging this, whereas the real fans are trying to fight against that. So how can that be helped?
I don't fault these girls for doing their job because their booth babes are hired to do their job. And I know people that are legitimate fans that do their job too, but I do feel that some of these booths need to be, hey, don't let people touch you. And that's hard too because they're trying, sex sells. That's why they're doing it. And it does portray a bad light, I think, on cosplayers and gives the con goers a wrong impression of how they should behave around us. But I don't fault the girls that are being paid to do it because that's their job, and I can't be upset with them about it.
That's definitely the sleaziness of the companies, I think, and I think that they just need to show more integrity. I'm not sure what the exact solution of encouraging them to do that, because yes, it does sell, unfortunately, but
sex sells.
Yeah, because I know people that have applied to be booth babes, and they're like, "Hey, we have better costumes than what you're providing for us," but the costumes are less covered up, and they're like, "No, we need you to wear booty shorts and a tank top, because that's what will sell more so than a good costume." So, just sleazy companies.
I think it would be a good idea because I'm all about solutions. So,
Yeah,
what you said about Japan and my own, experience as a celebrity impersonator and like the boundaries I think they need to set up stations at the conventions, like photo stations, photo op stations. This is where you get to take a photo of your favorite cosplayer when they show up. You don't get to take photos of them at any other time without explicit permission.
Japan also has this weird thing.
Yeah.
It's like there's segregation like at the convention where it's like the customers have to like stay in this roped off area. It's like
Maybe that's extreme, but I'm just saying.
And you can't leave it and like wander around.
Yeah,
you have to, like,
they can't come or leave in costume. They have to
Yeah.
get changed in the bathrooms, and they have a time limit to do it.
I think
it's weird.
I think it's complicated too because there are a lot of cosplayers that aren't famous. It's like I'm not famous. I have a handful of people that are like, oh hey, it's you. That's cool. But obviously it's a bigger issue for those people who are famous and get mobbed. But I think it's the people that really can't have their own little booth set up and security and things where a lot of the problems happen because just a lot of people don't even know about it. And
But I don't think that it should be up to each individual cosplayer. I think the conventions should have photo stations that are manned, that have professional photographers, backdrops, like maybe like a little staircase so they can be elevated, and there should be security there, and the cosplay should take turn going and standing there and having their photos taken, and that way, the general public will have photo op with all their favorite people, and it also brings an awareness that this is an art form. You get to take a photo of this like a statue or a painting or whatever, but you can't harass them on the floor, and it kind of removes that whole tramp stamp thing of like, oh, you're just some chick in a costume, what do you care, you have no right. You know what I'm saying? I think it would help with that.
It definitely could. I think it could create some problems though with like people that or had set up like a private shoot with a friend, because I've done that before where a friend's like, hey, can I take photos of you on the balcony or out in the lobby, and then security might come and be like, okay, you have to move, and then it might be so mobbed inside with like the designated photo area.
But it should be all about consent.
Yeah. So yeah, I definitely think it'd be great to have something like that too, but it's I I feel like there could be some other problems if the convention doesn't handle it properly
Yeah.
as well.
I just think it just comes down to bloody common courtesy. Like,
Yeah.
don't take a
Common
picture
sense.
without asking.
Yeah.
You know, if one cosplayer is particularly friendly, quote unquote, then she can be that or
Yeah.
he can be that. But it's like, don't assume.
Mm-hmm.
It's just to get the whole bloody everybody who goes through the doors to have that respect is
Yeah.
tricky.
Yeah, my Harley
weird.
costume, because it's skin. I mean, the thing is like painted on me, but essentially it's PVC. I had that except for the one guy that grabbed my butt. It was very like, they don't really know. They're like, can I put my arm around you? Is that fine? I'm like, totally. That's totally fine. And thank you for asking. And I usually always thank people for asking because that's courteous.
Yeah.
Ask.
Well, I want to know when did this whole thing of groping start? Because we're just hearing about it now, which doesn't mean it just started now. It just means that the girls are fed up with it. So, what character do you think encouraged people to grope more and more?
You mean like a singular character?
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a singular character. I think it's just been happening literally forever. And I think it's now with media the way it is, we're finally saying, okay, seriously, stop it. And some girls don't know how to say that. You know, some girls get very timid and they shut down when this happens to them. And I've seen that happen. Me, I'm mean and I'm very like, don't do that. And I make a scene.
That's good.
But some people, yeah, and I actually encourage girls that say no means no, yell at them if that's what, gets them to go away. It'll probably startle them. But that's...
Do you think most guys maybe don't have that much experience being with a girl one-on-one and they don't know how to react around them? And then when they see the girl wearing 3% of fabric, maybe that's a mixed signal to them.
I definitely agree with that. This means they're socially awkward. But somebody needs to teach them, like, it's still not appropriate to go up and bounce somebody's boobies.
Is there anyone in the world who hasn't been on a public beach ever? Where there's like people in bikinis everywhere? Does that mean you like run up there with your arms in front of you and start
but those
groping?
girls are not hanging all over the guy, because if these guys say, "Oh, can I get a picture with you?" Some girls will do the whole, "I'm going to be hanging all over you," like I'm in some pulp magazine. So I think that can send out a mixed signals to some of these guys that,
I see what you mean.
okay, so you can now touch me because I'm touching you.
With like the girl's leg is up on the guy and she's all over him, and then he's like, "Well, I guess I can do the same,"
They should have like all the cosplayers should have like little tags on their costumes that says PG, rated R, rated X. So then PG means no touching. Don't touch me. Don't mess around. Rated R is like you can put an arm around. Rated X, it's all out.
Rated X mean, here is my hotel room for later.
Amelia, you should conventions.
No, that means now you should start working at a strip club because you've just like surpassed all of this cosplay stuff.
I don't know. I would say just, I don't know, be conservative personally. Like, no matter how much they're touching you, be conservative with how much you are touching them or how you're touching them, just to be safe.
If you're uncomfortable with
If you're
that.
uncomfortable with that, yeah.
Like if you go to a sexy party on a Friday night with a bunch of sexy people, just in general. I mean, a lot of sexy parties have sexy people, right? And some girl on the dance floor might be all up in you, right? Like dancing on you, motorboating. I don't know this. What did Miley Cyrus do? What is it called? Twerking up on you. All this kind of stuff. That doesn't mean the next girl in the bar is going to want to do that with you, right? Isn't that the same thing?
Yeah.
I don't really go clubbing, but I'm going to say yes.
Yeah.
All right, so the next step, what can the girls do to stop this? To stop the groping?
Yeah.
Well, you want to go first? Go first.
Oh, go ahead.
Just make sure that you make it very clear what your boundaries are. I had some girls actually at Comic-Con this year that they were like, "Can I get a picture with you?" And they said, "Yes, but please don't touch me," and I kind of told them, like, that's kind of awesome. You told them, and they were like, "Oh, okay." The other girl was like, "If you want to touch me, please ask." Just make your boundaries very clear. If somebody does touch you, what I do, because I'm loud and obnoxious, is I tell them, "No, don't touch me." And if they get sassy with me, I get sassy back. That's just in my character. Some people might want to go tell somebody. Do that. Do whatever it takes to make yourself feel comfortable.
Or come with a group or come with a protector.
Groups and handlers are the best way to go
yes.
because it helps out so much.
Yeah.
And I'd also want to touch if you're not ready to be catcalled or potentially have pictures taken of you and things that you're not going to be comfortable with, you might want to reconsider the costume you're wearing. I'm not saying you shouldn't wear the costume you want. Just be prepared for the negative things that could happen, because they can and will happen. And if you're not comfortable with that, maybe choose a different costume.
I'm still going to go with I think conventions should have a certain amount of staff on the floor to kind of like give the evil eye to potential bad people.
Well, there are like sexy Sesame Street costumes out there. Like, is that encouraging this bad behavior? Since now there's like a sexy costume for
Furries.
What?
Furries.
Furry. Oh. Since now there's a costume for every pop culture character.
I know you can't see my face, but it's not a good face that I'm making right now.
No. So, Amelia, you said furries. What's up with that?
I have never been to like a furry thing, but I've heard about them.
What do they do? You don't even know who you're with. You gotta like, it's like a surprise. It's like a present on Christmas morning, and
We'll call it that.
you just tear it open.
Full of surprises.
Not a
You tear
pleasant
it
Christmas.
Well, I mean, if I
Zip it.
There's so many fetishes. I just know that that's like a fetish thing.
So we touched on booth babes and porn stars who are now going to conventions. Should cosplayers do something to rid them of the
I
conventions?
mean, are the porn stars going to the conventions as porn stars, or are they going undercover?
Usually they have their own booths there.
Yeah,
actually.
their own booth advertising their own pictures and portraits, and they're always encouraging guys to come on over and take a picture, and their chest goes way out.
There's very fetishy like sites and stuff, and so they have their own booths and things like
And
that. I've noticed.
I think maybe some of these guys do go to those porn conventions, and there they are touching the girls. So when they come to the sci-fi conventions, they don't really see the difference between the two.
I've never been to one, but I don't know that you can touch them.
Just
without
what
permission.
I've seen behind the scenes, or like E will do a cover story on someone. They're always hanging all over the guys, all their fans. So they're thinking, I can touch them here like I do there. And now look, there goes a slave Leia. I'm gonna go take a picture with her, and I can touch her like I did with the other porn star.
I feel
Not
like
saying
it
Leia's a porn star,
I
but
feel like it should be common sense, though, that when you go to a porn convention, that it's going to be a different environment than a comic book convention.
With different boundaries.
Yeah. And there are some really, like, 2-inch fabric costumes out there, but it's still a different environment. There's kids there at most conventions and stuff, and there wouldn't be kids at a porn convention, at least I hope to God not.
Yeah, I think a lot of it comes down to that rather than like what you think someone's okay with. It's like what should be okay for, like, I don't know, there are a lot of children there, and I'm like, I don't know. That's why I personally wouldn't really wear anything. Not that I think there's anything too wrong with people wearing a revealing costume if it's a character they like or whatever, but I don't know, just with all the sexual stuff going on, I'm like, there are people and their families here, and I don't know, it feels a little bit icky to me. But
Some cons have rules that you can't have, like if you were Cammy, for instance, from Street Fighter, you couldn't wear the thong.
okay.
Which for me, I actually want to cosplay Cammy, and I mean, I would wear tights if I did it, but I'd be kind of like, that's her character. But I have seen girls do it at cons where they're not supposed to do that, where they wear like the shorts, or they made it a whole butt cover, basically. Yeah. And it goes for, I think, for costumes, for common sense too. And maybe these conventions should have rules. Here's a family day. I know Comic-Con used to do Sunday is Kids Day, and that's when people brought all their kids. Maybe they should start going back to that.
Yeah, at least something a little bit more specifically. Okay, make it aware that it's all ages this day or something. I don't know.
think it has anything to do with the children. This has to do with integrity and how you behave towards people. It has nothing to do with whether there are kids there or not. Kids don't care. The kids aren't going to go, oh my God, your butt's hanging out. Kids don't care. It's not about the kids.
They probably wouldn't even notice.
It's about the adults and how they behave and how the courtesy. That's what it's about. If you segregate the families, then it's going to get even worse. Because then it's like, oh, well, it's not family day, so here you go. I'm groping you now.
Well, no, that's not the point I was making. I was just trying to say that, like, I mean, bring your kids whenever you want, but like when they used to do Kids Day, a lot of people would dress up like in Disney characters instead or something that day because they knew there'd be more kids there rather than maybe wearing your Queen's Blade costume where everything's hanging out. But parents should also be held accountable. If you take your kid to a convention, you're probably going to see Tigo Bitties everywhere. I mean, it might happen.
If a kid sees a butt.
No, that's what I'm saying, though. Parents should be aware that, and parents have gotten upset about that, too, being like, oh, there's too many girls dressed scantily. Well, you're going to convention, and they're comic book characters is probably going to happen.
What does it matter? Like,
the only convention...
Kids isn't going to care.
No.
Kids
It's
don't
the parents,
judge.
and then they freak out, and then the kids get it, and then it's
the only convention that doesn't happen is D23 Expo because they make explicit rules, like you must have a PG-rated costume.
My point was definitely not to detract from the importance of integrity as adults, but Yeah, I just meant I would personally find it. I don't know. I wouldn't want to expose kids to that, and that's the opinion of certain
Exactly.
parents. But I don't. Not everyone has to share that opinion.
Now you
but-
guys got me scared because I'm thinking back. I'm like, have I groped someone and I didn't think it was a grope? I'm like,
Are you part of the problem?
I might be. I don't know. I mean, I'm trying to think. Did I victim? I don't know. I'm just thinking back because of all the years I'm doing this. I don't know. I mean, maybe I did. Maybe I did something horrible and I don't know. I mean, I don't.
Well, that's what the point of all this is to bring awareness,
Bring
right?
awareness, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think we need to sum up everything. Everyone needs to know that cosplay does not equal consent, and that, yeah, when you want to take a picture with a cosplayer, you should ask first. Also, you should ask if you want to touch them. Anybody else have something to add?
Communities are made up of people, and each individual person either has integrity or doesn't. And if each person making up a certain community has a lot of integrity, eventually the whole community is going to have integrity. So I think it really comes down to a grassroots movement where all cosplayers say, okay, we're not going to put up with X, Y, and Z. We're not going to put up with people falling to the ground, sticking cameras of crotches, groping, taking unsolicited photos, blah, 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 blah. If everyone gets on that really firmly, it will change, and there will be, the rules will, it's like you said in Japan, where they're very revered and people are very courteous. I know it's a very courteous culture as well, but if everyone sticks by their gun with their integrity, I think things will change.
But to use common sense, people just common sense.
Well, cosplay equals art. That's what we want everyone to know.
And fun, and about loving your fandoms
Yes.
and being passionate about it.
Let's all give a shout out to our various affiliations. Alexander.
All right. Yeah, you can just find my personal page. You can find me on Twitter at @A_Lorenzen. That's LORENZEN. Or my Facebook page, which is facebook.com/Alexander Albatross.
Nice. And Jamin.
Oh, you can leismetalbikini.com or Facebook under my name, Jamin Fight. That's JAMIN and F as in Frank, ITE, Fight.
Christina?
16bitsirens.com. We can also be found on Facebook under 16bit sirens. You can also follow me on Twitter at boobafett83, which is BOOBA_FETT83. And the original article was The Beginnings of Consent, which is the Cosplay is Not Consent movement.
Yeah, it's a very interesting article to read. And you can also find me, my cosplay page, as facebook.com/JediTink.
Your name is Boob Affett?
Booba Fett.
And you're worried about being groped?
Oh, come on.
I'm sorry, I just had it.
Thank you, everyone, for joining us at Tiki Cantina.
Thank you, everyone. Good insight.
Awesome.
So I hope everyone got something out of cosplay does not equal consent.
Including the fact that cosplay is an art form.
Of course, this is going to be an ongoing issue. So if anyone has any stories, let us know. Let us know, because I think the more we put it out there that this is happening, the more we can do something about it.
Yeah, comment on our Facebook, comment on our skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Let us know what you thought. And now let's move on to some happier things. We want to give some shout outs to our fans this week.
So I'd like to give a shout out to Jim Pry, who gave us this great comment. He says, "Loving the show. It's filling the void that was made when G4's Attack of the Show went off the air."
Oh.
Now that is definitely something to live up to.
Yes.
All right, well, this is why we put so much work and dedication into these shows, because of comments like that. So thank you. Who do you have?
Well, recently we've been realizing that couples actually listen or watch us together. And in fact, my mom and dad watch the show while they're eating dinner, Sunday dinner. And my mom said, "It's like having you and Richard over for dinner." It's so cute.
Aw.
And she also gave us some great new ideas for the podcast. So thank you, Mom, including something that we're going to do on our Halloween show coming up.
Ooh, that's going to be next week. We're having a
Yes.
special Halloween episode.
Yes. And then Dad, he has lent his technical advice and audio skills. So we're
Thank
very
goodness.
grateful to him. Yeah.
So the fact that this is coming out very clean and even, thanks to Peter Heitman.
I'd also like to shout out to Matthew Tapasio at Ben10Dinosaur. He is constantly on Twitter liking and sharing everything that I tweet. So thank you, Matthew. Also, I'd like to give a shout out to AJ Rimmer. He left an iTunes review along with Robert Babst. Now, Robert Babst, he has his own podcast, Bald Solo Podcast, and we connected on Twitter this week and realized that we had first met at Star Wars Celebration Convention 6.
I remembered him because he was the only bald Han Solo.
Yeah. So appropriately, he's named Bald Solo on Twitter.
Oh, I get it now.
Yeah,
get it.
Got it. And we will be on his show in a couple weeks, and he will be on our upcoming Halloween show. So it's fun to make friends in this podcast world. Like, once you're here, it's very interesting.
This is why we're doing this podcast,
Yeah.
just so we can meet other fans
Yes.
and be involved in other communities, which is why we're always saying to people, hey, we want to hear your stories. We want to see your pictures. So please write in, call, go to our website, skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Leave us a voicemail. We're going to play it because we're here for you. We're here for the fans.
And I want to say that Robert left us a fantastic iTunes review that is entitled They Are One with the Mouse. And he ends it with saying, as fans, we often forget not only to celebrate what we love, but that it binds us all together in many cases as instantaneous friends. And I think that is absolutely true.
So until next week in our big Halloween episode, this is Richard
And this is Sarah
saying
Neverland on Alderaan.
Here he is again, Sam Finkelstein, as he slow dances to the Imperial March over our disclaimers.
Thank you for listening to Skywalking Through Neverland. We would love to hear what you thought of the show. Please send feedback and suggestions. You can email us at share@skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Please visit us at our website, skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/skywalkingthrough-neverland and on Twitter at skywalkingpod. All material submitted becomes the property of Skywalking Through Neverland and are subject for use on our show. You can help support Skywalking Through Neverland by posting about us on Facebook, Twitter, or just tell another fanboy or girl. We would also really appreciate a 5-star review on iTunes. A link to our iTunes page can be found on skywalkingthroughneverland.com. Skywalking Through Neverland was created and produced by Richard and Sarah Woloski. Segment producers are David Scale, Richard Woloski, Sarah Woloski, and Mark Agushowitz. Graphic design and website design by Sarah Woloski. Technical advisor is Peter Heitman. Skywalking Through Neverland is not affiliated with Lucasfilm Limited, Disneyland Resorts, or the Walt Disney Company. All names, sounds, and related items of Star Wars and Disney are registered, trademarked, and copyright Lucasfilm Limited and the Walt Disney Company and their respective trademark and copyright holders. All rights reserved. Skywalking Through Neverland is intended for entertainment and information purposes only. All original content of this podcast is the intellectual property of Hey Hey Entertainment, copyright 2013, all rights reserved. No part of this show may be repurposed, reproduced, redistributed, or rebroadcasted without the written permission of Hey Hey Entertainment.
Sorry, all that had to be said.
Goodbye. Live long and prosper. Wait, sorry. May the Force be with you.
And cut. That's a wrap.